Good evening and welcome to Going for Two. This is the only YouTube podcast in human record history to feature a male and female host drinking our way through the important topics of the day, as long as they touch the football world, and not in that way. Tonight we'll throw hate at each other's Scott Fishbowl drafts, talk some post-Thrones goodness, figure out what Sharona's XLing about, and call Washington fans stupid. I am Zach Law, and this is the next full-time GM of the Panthers, Sharona.
I think they've already hired their former. They're going to bring back, a former GM. The retreads are getting some love.
True. It's a little weird. I guess I didn't put that on there, but it's okay. We can talk about anything. It's July 19th, 2017, and we are collectively drinking at least 50% less beer a night. Well, maybe 33%. Just want to say hi, Don. I don't know if he's watching the last couple weeks. He was at the beach last week, but he was painting our condo, which we might actually be able to sell, which is great. So, way to go, Don.
I've been meaning to ask. I've been meaning to ask you, why did you guys decide to sell your condo?
Oh, tired of renting it, and the market apparently is good because we just accepted an offer, and it's like day 3 of it being on the market.
Well, cool.
And I say this and, maybe things go bad, but, I doubt it. Anyway, so we just completed the Scott Fishbowl, and I'm pretty sure Sharona's draft was quicker than last year's. Weren't you in like the slowest league last year for drafting?
I'm trying to remember who was in my, I guess you weren't in my league last year?
I know, it was sad.
No, okay. I don't remember who was in there. I'll have to go back and look. It was so slow. I mean, there were 3 teams that finished in the bottom of the stack, and mine was one of them. It took 2 months to draft. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, because when we talked on Wednesday last week, or Thursday actually, the draft started on Monday, we were like in round 15, 16, we were about 2/3 of the way through. And we finished sometime, it was Sunday or Monday?
It was Sunday. It was right before, I made my last selection right before Game of Thrones.
Because I set my pick, and then the person before me was, took almost as long as I did to make my pick, because all day Friday I'm checking my email, and then 4 o'clock I apparently got on the clock, and then at 11 o'clock everybody's tweeting me, "Hey Zach, you need to make your pick," and of course I was charging my phone, so
they were. Since you are not a little joiner and would not come in our group DM, everybody was like, "Sharona, can you get in touch with Zach?" I'm like, "Yes, let me get in touch with the lone wolf McQuaid Zach and let him know that everybody's concerned about his draft."
Well, as soon as Hootsuite allows group DMs, I'm like, I don't look at my Twitter app, so yeah, I have no idea. Plus, I wasn't even looking at my phone. It's one of those kind of draft rules where you will watch all day, and someone will take hours, and you'll wait, and then by the time you're like, then your pick comes up, and you're like, oh crap. So I probably averaged a good time, but that one round, it took me 8 hours to pick, so my total was not good.
Oh, I haven't looked. I need to look and see what I averaged.
But it's time. If Sharona's okay with it, we'll talk about your picks first.
Sure, I don't care.
I'll give them a shot, and then you can, make your commentary back, because it's all about the #hater. So first round, Andrew Luck. I think you had the 6th pick. Is that right?
Yes, I had the 6th pick.
Who needs a shoulder? I think the best comp for Andrew Luck is 2011 Peyton Manning.
What? I'm sorry, huh?
Paying attention to me. Said,
I was trying to look up my team, but you're talking to me, so I'm going to quit and listen to you. What?
Listening, that's an idea. I might need to try that sometime. So Andrew Luck, who needs a shoulder, and the best comp for him is 2011 Peyton Manning.
Yeah, I mean, You hate that pick, I know, and you've been reminding me like every single day that you think Andrew Luck's shoulder is shot, and But as you so graciously reminded me, he does face the Titans defense twice.
Yeah, I think one downer last year was that I think only faced him once because of fantasy playoffs or something. So, anyway, yeah. Look, quarterbacks are insane in this league. So when you're in the middle in the first or second rounds, you kind of know guys you can get and guys you can't get. And Andrew Luck clearly wasn't going to be available at pick 2. And he wasn't going to be available probably with your second pick. And he puts up great numbers, and he was hurt, playing through an injury. The question is, of course, shoulder injury, what's the deal? He's not throwing yet. But when you have a $25 million investment like him, you're going to take it easy. You're not going to, push it.
It's not like, he's not a rookie anymore, and, he's their guy, and I feel okay with the pick.
Yeah, they don't really, they're kind of like Seattle. They're like, what offensive line? But, he doesn't. He gets it done anyway. So second pick for Sharona, Julio Jones. Now, it's too bad that receivers get negative $1 billion points for everything, at least according to ADP, because receivers just dropped.
They did,
and
but I wanted
a clear, smart move by Scott.
Yeah, the scoring system definitely tends to devalue wide receiver, but I was stuck with a shitty group of wide receivers last year. My first pick was Nuke Hopkins, and I was like, and so I was like, I know that I know this position group and all of that is people aren't going to be jumping on it, but I wanted an elite wide receiver. I wasn't really crazy about the running backs that were there at that point, but then I think I picked like 3 straight running backs, maybe. I picked a tight end.
Yeah, the third pick for Sharona, Jordan Reed. Does Sharona know this league has no IR slots? Another injury-prone guy, but when he played...
I knew you were going to hate on my drive. Oh, whatever. When he's healthy, he's a stud, and,
When he's not, he's not. Fourth-round pick, Dalvin Cook. Who needs an offensive line? I think they're clearly... They traded up for him. They're throwing him in there. They're talking about him as a kick returner. I don't know about that, but... 3-down rookie. Rookies do well. It seems like this year there are a ton of rookies that are in pretty good situations, and he's definitely in there.
We do get, if they score special team touchdowns, you do get points for that.
Ooh, that helps with one of your later picks. Although maybe not, because I don't know if he plays anymore. 5th round, Carson Wentz. See, my 5th round quarterback looks like Tom Brady in comparison. Now, that's one of the fun things of this league. Only 4 positions. So oftentimes you'll make a pick and then you'll see like a run on that position just because like I took quarterback early 5th round and like 5-6 quarterbacks went because it's basically a 2 quarterback league. You say it's quarterback flex, but just about everybody starts. Although Ty Miller tied in St. Louis, I think he actually won one year with only 1 quarterback, but pretty much a mediocre second quarterback, and Carson Wentz and definitely Andy Dalton filled that bill. A guy who's going to start 16 games, you just lock him in there, and you're totally cool. So, 6th round pick Doug Baldwin, wide receiver, clearly worthless. This is the point of the draft where people actually start remembering that receivers exist. But Doug Baldwin's probably like a 3rd, 4th round pick in most drafts. In this draft, he goes in the 6th. So again, you got to feel good about that. 7th round, Derrick Henry. He skipped minicamp for something stupid like getting his degree. Who likes that guy? He's got like a man bun. Was that good for?
Only Paul Kaharski could hate on that.
Yeah, it's like, it's modern everything on Twitter. Right? People get upset about the dumbest things. And we'll talk about one of those later. And it pretty much gets forgotten. Derrick Henry, basically, there was a big Twitter debate about him a while back because he is pretty highly drafted for a guy who's currently a backup. I almost think maybe he's a better best ball guy, but if DeMarco gets hurt, or if they say, you know what, let's try this young guy, then he's gonna put up some solid weeks for the exotic smash mouth.
I drafted DeMarco Murray in another league pretty high. Like he was my second pick, I think. I went running back because it was weird, and going through Scotty Fishbowl kind of like changed my strategy in this other league. We ended up, I think we either rolled back or restarted. I think we restart anyway. My first pick was Aaron Rodgers. When we restarted, because of how that little trial run went and how Scotty Fishbowl went, I was like, running backs are going. And so I went like running back. I think I took 3 running backs in a row in that league, which is what I was thinking. I took 3 running backs in this one. So, yeah, it was kind of weird as I was, my philosophy is kind of to let the draft come to you. And as I was looking to see what else was out there and looking at rosters and everything, it was at this point that I was like, I better get some running backs. I think I took like 2 or 3 running backs at this point, didn't I?
Yeah, this was your second. Well, actually, you took them, you spaced them out. You didn't do a bunch in a row. Next pick, and boy, you're going to let's say about this one. Tyreek Hill. I'll let Sharona defend this 2017 Tavon Austin. What do you got?
Clearly they like him, and he's a guy he's going to get the ball. They're going to give him the ball, and I think that I could get some special team points with him. And so, for where I was picking and what was out there, I kind of liked that multidimensional aspect to it.
This beer is amazingly sweet, but when you call a beer a s'mores beer, yeah, like I can taste. It's kind of vanilla, but then it's got like the marshmallow flavor going for it.
I just have to point out that I quit drinking, and Zach has 2 weeks in a row tortured me with dragon's milk. 2 weeks in a row.
I'm the worst. I don't know.
You are the worst.
I mean, clearly. And you're just going to keep feeling the worst. Next round now, Davante Adams. Stacking isn't just for flapjacks, baby. I'm sorry, you don't actually have Aaron Rodgers. You took him last year, I think. Or maybe the year before. Anyway.
I've taken him.
Davante Adams caught like 12 touchdowns last year, and he dropped like 6.
That
high volume offense, take those guys. Just do it.
Yeah, I don't know whether I hated myself more for Tyreek Hill or Davante Adams, who I said I would never draft again. And so, but that was, I'm okay with it.
I mean, one thing that's fun to look at is like what guys' values were last year versus this year. Like Davante Adams was going like in the 18th round of NFL 10s last year, and probably this league too, and he did really well. So sometimes a guy who's really hyped, sucks it up in year 1, can turn around. Although I don't know if last year was his second or third. Anyway, in that offense, yeah. And then next, backup tight end, Austin Hooper. Not if Jordan Reed gets hurt, when.
This is my favorite pick out of all my picks in this particular draft. I love that he fell to me there. I think that he's going to have a fantastic year, and of course, it's a high volume offense, and he's a guy who's going to stay on the field because he's a good blocker too, and I hope it, knock on wood, I hope I'm not jinxing him, but you will have to go on. But I think he's my favorite pick.
We'll see how it goes in Atlanta, because really it's Julio Jones, and they have good running backs, and they losing their offensive coordinator. But second-year tight end, that's usually when the best when guys make the biggest leap. Now this beer is good. I think I might save the rest of these high alcohol beers like Dragon's Milk. I think they really need a little time to sit because that booziness is just really strong, but the sweetness is just delicious. Next pick, go Vols, Alvin Kamara. Yep. I believe we have a Sharona rule, something about taking at least one Tennessee player.
It has been, well, I had Justin Hunter and I've had Cordarrelle Patterson. I don't know that I had a Tennessee player last year. I'll have to think on that. I like his situation. I don't ordinarily go for Saints running backs, but I think that he's a multi-dimensional guy, and I think they've already said that they're going to use him at wide receiver a little bit. So he's a guy they're going to try and get the ball in his hands, and he's a playmaker. And so yeah, I like that pick too. Maybe my second favorite pick.
Well, they definitely give. I don't know if they throw the most passes to a running back. But, like, I'm not sure what they're going to do with Mark Ingram. He'll get some, but they're not going to throw the ball to Adrian Peterson ever. So Alvin Kamara could come in there. I don't know if he's going to have a Reggie Bush, like, 90-catch rookie year, but he could put in some solid numbers. And those pass-catching running backs, I think they might not be as valuable in this league because
they're not.
You get a 3rd and 12 catch for 8 yards. You get pretty much 0.8 of a point. Next pick, the future.
I mean, as long as you've got a guy on the field getting points, this is that kind of league that, you
got to score. Next pick, this guy's kind of a tweener too, and of course his future GM of the Panthers. She has to, show some love. Curtis Samuel.
Oh, no, this is my favorite pick.
A younger, pretty much the same Ted Ginn. Why? That's one of the weirdest things. Like, people have been pointing out, Cam Newton was one of the worst short pass throwers in the league. And then what did they do? They drafted 2 really good pass catching, probably short pass guys. I mean, Samuel can probably run the 9 routes like Ted Ginn because he's super fast. And he can kind of maybe even play a little, they do a little like wildcat action or something and throw him in there. Because they kind of do the wildcat with Cam Newton, but have another guy who's played running back, so that could work. And next pick, Mitchell, not Mitch Trubisky. I assume his mom was in the league and cursed Sharona for taking him. This 13th round. Quarterbacks of the Pulse, you get him. You pretty much have to get him.
Why would Mom be mad about that? I got stuck with Case Keenum last year. Easily 50% of this draft. I'm sorry, I keep knocking my computer, making it go haywire. Easily 50% of this draft is, well, that happened to me last year is not happening this year.
Yeah, I feel like I had 2 usable running backs all year, and then one. I think I had Melvin Gordon. Once he got hurt, I was like, oh, really, really scrambling. And I got a bunch of late because I drafted a ton. Like last year, I took 4 tight ends in the first 9 rounds, and this year didn't do that. Next pick, we discussed this during last week's show because that pick was up. Charles Sims can't run, maybe can catch. By the way, we still have 9 more picks.
Well, since we discussed it, then it was like I needed, I was needing some more running backs. I didn't want any more. I already had 2 or 3 rookies. I didn't want another rookie. I wanted a guy who, you're not going to run into that. Is he going to hit the rookie wall? What's going to happen? That kind of thing. And, know that there's a lot of mouths to feed in Tampa. And I wouldn't ordinarily draft a Tampa Bay Buccaneer anyway. But, in fact, I wouldn't draft anybody who's on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But that was the guy that I kind of looked at him in the round before, but it was a little early, and he was still there, and so I took him.
And the next pick, DeAndre Washington. Now, all we can think about, everybody's so in love with Marshawn Lynch that actually there's one of those maps of America that show the top selling jersey in every state. And Marshawn Lynch is got the west half of the country. But when he got hurt 2 years ago, he really didn't want to come back, and the backups had to come in there. And so DeAndre Washington is the backup. I kind of wish they had a clear backup because that got to be really valuable because Jalen Richard played some too, but he might be more of a kick returner type. So really in this kind of league, because you get point per first down, those backup running backs who come in and can play, they're really valuable. Well, they have this potential energy that may never come to fruition. That's fantasy football for you, y'all. A lot of potential, a lot of injuries, a lot of drinking. Water is okay too. I hear that. This is a rumor. Anyway, next pick, Tyler Lockett. I love this perpetually injured motherfucker. Oh, man, when he plays, he does stuff. And Sharona's his eyes rolling.
It's another guy. It's another guy who could make some noise on special teams, and he has done that. And he hasn't quite yet really taken off as a wide receiver, I took Doug Baldwin already, right? Didn't I take him earlier?
Stacking those Seahawks, baby.
I took Doug Baldwin. I love Doug Baldwin. I was on the Doug Baldwin train way early before everybody else, but he's getting up there in years, and so is Jermaine Kearse, and it's going to be maybe possibly Paul Richardson and Tyler Lockett, and they've got another young guy.
I know they took a guy.
His name escapes me, but yeah,
in the middle this year, yeah.
So I kind of feel like it's Tyler Lockett's year. I do.
Next pick is Will Fuller. Do we get punt return yardage against Titans because he scored that touchdown to beat them last year?
Well, they're saying that they're taking him off punt returns. I don't know. I mean, who else do they have? Again, it's, that quarterback situation is you. Having had Nick Hopkins last year and the Brock Osweiler experiment, which was a total failure, and but I kind of feel like it can't be any worse. It's got to be better, and I do think that it's going to be Mr. Clemson, and his name's Deshaun Watson. I couldn't think of his name there for a minute. Deshaun Watson's going to get the job, and I really feel like the passing game could be something.
Yeah, Will Fuller was like a stud because I know I had him in like an MFL 10, which is nice because MFL 10s are like best ball because I think I did take Will Fuller in the Scott Fish Bowl, and I would take him in the wrong weeks. Like he'd have 2 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown. Next week he'd have nothing. That's the week I'd start him. So that was a bit of a pain. Next pick, I don't know, this might be your best pick. Jake Butt. Do you know that Pork Butt is actually shoulder? True story. Now, he tore his ACL in the bowl game.
Yes.
So they haven't really said whether he's going to start the season playing, but really they have nothing at tight end.
They have nothing at tight end, and I've got he's my insurance for when Jordan Reed does eventually go down, and hopefully by the time that happens, Jake Butt will be able to slide into my lineup.
That's right. Next pick, Chris Hogan, Patriots. Offensive skill players are more annoying than ever this year. All those running backs, all those receivers.
So many mouths to feed.
Don't know. And the thing, like Robert and Cassidy, damn, he'll probably be a stud.
Didn't I take Malcolm Mitchell too?
Spoiler alert.
Sorry. Sound like it's my
at the
team.
End of Wonder Woman. Spoiler alert. Yeah. Now, on the next pick, Alan Hearns. You actually sniped me because 2 years ago, Alan Hearns was a guy I got like in the 18th round. And last year, Alan Hearns was going like in the 5th. And he just disappeared. I think he was hurt all year. I actually got to trade him to my dad for Corey Coleman in the Dynasty League. Hopefully that works out. But they're not going to forget him because they paid him. I mean, he was like an undrafted rookie. After 2 years, they gave him like a 4-year, $40 million contract. So you think Marquise Lee will still be the number 2 guy there? There's a lot of talk about them not passing as much, but they're probably still going to be losing. So
I'm not a believer in Marquise Lee. I don't own any Marquise Lee. Huh?
I said few are. He actually had a kind of, considering everybody gave up on him, he actually had a decent year last year. But
anyway, exactly. I'm one of the few who thinks that Blake Bortles could have a nice little bounce back season. He's young, and so I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I thought that was a good value pick.
He's real life trash, but in fantasy, Bortles has probably still got top 10 potential, and no one's going to take him there. So Malcolm Mitchell next. Now 2 Patriots equals no hope, or maybe someone gets hurt. And Mitchell made a great catch in the Super Bowl, but who didn't?
Well, I mean, these are kind of stash guys. You never know who's gonna.
This is the 21st round, exactly. Like,
yeah,
you never know who's waivers.
You just never know who's going to show up and be that guy, and you know, it's always fun, but a little weird drafting when you haven't even gone through training camp. And so, you know, everybody's going to be scouring the training camp news and stuff. And the week one waiver wire is always fun. So,
yeah, because wide receiver is so deep, you really are super dart throwing late. But when you dart throw, go for probably a high volume offense there. And last pick, D'Angelo Henderson. Now, you might go who, but he was taken, I think, in the 5th round, Coastal Carolina. Looks like a possible every down back. And by the way, Scott Fish does these little Easter eggs. In the 22nd round, some people are taking players like Air Bud and Shane Falco. So, you know, taking a guy who's actually on an NFL roster, there you go. You got an advantage right there. And I don't know if Sharona wants to tear up my picks, but I'm going to go ahead and – well, actually, now that we've completed talking about it, how do you think your draft went? Like, did you have, here's the way I think I was going to draft, and here's how things went based on, you know, player availability, that sort of thing?
You know, I shouldn't say this. I shouldn't be dishonest, I don't guess, but I didn't have a strategy really going in. I mean, I knew that quarterbacks were going to be premium, and I was going to get 2 good quarterbacks fairly early. I knew that, and I knew that I wanted to get – I had some fairly mediocre tight ends. I knew I wanted to get, you know, a couple of good tight ends, and I knew I wanted at least one elite wide receiver. And other than that, I didn't know how people were going to look at running back. And so watching how people, and it's different, the scoring system and everything is different, but still you kind of get a feel for what people are doing this year in fantasy, and seeing how people were valuing running backs. Again, it made me value running backs in another league. So yeah, I didn't do any mocks. I didn't get a chance to do any mocks. Most mocks go too long. They last too long. They take too long, and they go too long. Like I told someone, I don't need to know who you take in round 17 of a PPR redraft league. I don't need to know that. We should do mini mocks, you know, just little small mocks, and people, you know, go through 10 rounds and see what people do in the, you know, the higher rounds. But it was good. I think it's always fun, and it went fast this year. I mean, it was like last year I went 10 whole days without making a pick.
That sounds crazy, but I think it's 8 hours, but then you get, I think it's like at night the clock is off, so technically you could go like almost a day between picks. Yeah, I'll agree that I like last year I was like, okay, tight ends, I'm going tight end heavy. This year, I kind of drafted like someone drafted in fantasy league in like 2002, where it was like I have to fill my starting roster first and then get backups, because it's kind of the way it worked out. So I had a 2-pick, and Aaron Rodgers went number 1. So it was the first pick was so easy. It's like David Johnson, right there, gonna get 3 touches a game, total offense, even if the team falls apart. Second pick, Sharona can give me a little side eye for this one. Jameis Famous Winston.
Better you than me.
He was like quarterback 8. Now they added all these weapons, kind of like the Titans, a bunch of offensive weapons and defense. Who needs it? Which actually might work in his favor. He runs a little bit, but yeah, I was pretty much like I'm taking a quarterback in the 2nd round. 3rd round, Odell Beckham. Just the fact he went in the 1st round, it seems like in most leagues, but yeah, receivers, that's one thing I learned by doing mock drafts is like receivers dropped, quarterbacks, of course, are nuts, and running backs and tight ends go a little bit before you think they will.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 4th round, I took Dez Bryant. I took him like in a mock too, and I say Jen made me do it. You know, he's healthy. Dak will probably actually throw it to him more this year. And I know receivers aren't worth as much, but the elite guys, I feel like anytime you can get an advantage, That's a good thing. Now, I knew in the 5th round I had to take a quarterback. Once, I think in one of my mocks, I got like Carson Palmer, and I was like, oh, God, Carson Palmer. So I took Andy Dalton. Seems like he does every other year. Like he only had 18 touchdown passes last year.
I think I'd rather have Carson Palmer than Andy Dalton.
With all their, it's kind of weird because they added all these offensive weapons, but their offensive line is just devastated.
Anyway.
So it'll help him. Now, C.J. Anderson, I basically took him because I know I'd had a starter in week 1 because I really don't know how long he's going to be the guy there. I don't really think that Jamal Charles, with the salad fork in his back, is going to do anything. But I knew I wanted 2 running backs to start the year, so I had him. And, of course, in round 7, I could hear the cursing all the way from the secret lair, Tennessee, when I took Delaney Walker.
Well, I could have taken Delaney, and I took Jordan Reed. I
had one.
Of course, love Delaney, but I think that we've seen his role diminish, and I think that trend's going to continue. And he's finally starting to get up there in years. I'm really curious to see who puts up numbers in that offense this year.
Yeah, the Titans seem to have like a starting offensive lineup that only had 1 starting receiver and like 3 tight ends and like a fullback, and they're not going to do that this year, not based on what they did in the offseason. Now, in the 8th, 9th turn, I took Kareem Hunt, who I feel like half of the fantasy community.
I looked at him so many times.
He's going to be the guy. Like, they've already gotten rid of the starter there in Kansas City, and he's the guy. If he comes in and plays, he's an every week starter. If not, he's going to be useless. Next round, CJ Procise, who might be one of those 3rd down backs who catches passes and then never gets any first downs and is useless. But he actually looked pretty good last year when he played. It's just Seattle, I don't know why they just don't care about the offensive line at all. And that really, really hurts running backs. Like once Marshawn Lynch, couldn't get yards on his own, it was like, oh boy, they got nothing after that. David Njoku, I took him. Now, rookie tight end suck, and he's like the youngest guy I think who was drafted, so I don't know what he's going to do. But when you can get a Cleveland skill position player, you have to do it.
Everybody seems to think he's got, of all the rookie tight ends, he and maybe Evan Ingram have the best. But I took, well, I don't know. I mean, I kind of think Jake Butt might. He doesn't there's not a lot of pressure on him, and so what, and not everybody's relying on him, and what you get is going to be kind of gravy. But yeah, I like that pick.
It's definitely intriguing. I mean, I went rookie tight end crazy because this was like a historically good rookie tight end class, and I took like 5 or 6 of them in my dynasty league. It was insane how many I ended up with, but I had nothing there, literally nothing. So 11th round, I took Jamison Crowder, who had like this, I think like 100 catch year last year. But when I looked at his scoring, he didn't score a ton in this format, but who does? But you need to start 3 receivers, so I put him in there. I got Deshaun Watson.
I like that pick. I thought that was a great value pick.
Sharona likes my pick.
I'm not a hater like you.
I know. Too good for me. What can I say? I find the women are too good for me. Deshaun Watson, apparently he had like the weakest throwing arm of like a drafted quarterback in a long time. So I don't know, but he looked good against Alabama and he took hits. He's not really, I think actually Trubisky might be faster than him, but he's got one of those potential kind of rookie years. Plus, I don't know, the 3rd quarterback was a tough choice for me because they were going so early, but Deshaun dropped to the 12th round. I was like, screw it. When I took Jamal Williams in the 13th, I know like Ty Montgomery's getting a lot of talk, but he's like a 3-down running back. He was getting a lot of love by the draftniks. And you were like, oh, can I get this year's Jordan Howard? Well, we all took about 5 shots at that. So, we'll see. In the 14th round, I'm going to say Greg made me do it. Marvin Jones, because I think it was around the same time that he took him, that same night, I think. Going to get a lot of volume in Detroit. And Matthew Stafford learned to throw to people not named Calvin Johnson last year, so that was a good move. In the 15th round, Sharona's favorite, Rashard Matthews. Mm-hmm. Unfortunate I almost wish this was like best ball because I feel like he's going to have some really good weeks and you just got to not know when to take him. But he has the rapport already with Mariota and, Davis in there and Decker and Taylor. Well, they're going to have to earn their spot. And since I took C.J. Anderson and I assumed the 3-down backup for him would be Devontae Booker, oddly, he's a rare case of a guy who they actually have a new offensive staff in there, but they actually changed their blocking scheme to something that'll fit him better. I think it was like a gap scheme, but basically he doesn't have to think because apparently he was running to the back of his lineman last year because I know I took him in our league when C.J. Anderson got hurt, not if. Yeah, I got him. And my love, rookie tight end, George Kittle in the 17th. I'm hearing just amazing things about him, although I think he'll probably get in the field for his blocking prowess. Scott Fish next year, point per block for tight ends. I'm just saying, that could be a really revolutionary scoring update. In the 18th, it's dart throw time. So Deion Lewis, kind of forgotten guy. Like he was a fantasy stud for a few weeks, a couple years ago. And because James White had that great Super Bowl. By the way, everybody else got hurt, so he had to play. And he caught like 14 passes. But Deion Lewis got a shot and probably cut by – my assumption is I'm going to cut Deion Lewis week 3. He's going to have a great week 4 and be the hot waiver guy. That's my pick. Week 19, I took Crockett Gilmore. Give me some of that sweet, sweet Joe Flacco check, baby. And then 20th, when you're going to throw darts at good offenses. So Kamar Aiken, who last year was like an 8th-round pick and this year was not a pick. I wanted Alan Hearns. Oh, he took Alan Hearns from me. It hurt me in the heart.
Sorry.
You have smart co-hosts. At least I do. Juju Smith-Schuster in the 21st. Rookie receiver, but plays for the Steelers. They seem to be pretty good at drafting a receiver. Ever since Lima Swede, they're really good at it. In the 22nd round, I had to lock down the Cleveland tight end position with Seth the Valve from Princeton. Scored a touchdown last year. In your face. Probably cut. So, yeah, that took longer than I thought. Anyway, not really a big plan. I just knew I needed to get 2 quarterbacks, and I kind of thought that I was going to get a couple receivers early. I thought I'd get the top heavy, kind of like you. Like, can I get a couple guys I know I'm just going to start every week and not have to rotate guys in? So we'll see with running backs. As usual, you got to have guys come up with injuries and do stuff for you. But, yeah, we took that down. You can tell me if you loved it or hated it. It's totally cool. All answers are legit here.
Loved or hated what? The narration job you did of our draft. It was great. I loved every single bit of it. I loved the draft itself. It was a great group we had, even though Zach was Mr. I'm not coming into their group DM.
Irrelevant.
It was a great group DM going through, and everybody is really cool, and it's gonna be a fun league this year.
I swear you told me about a group DM, but I didn't know it was the one for this league. Anyway, it's on this guy right here. So
I told you more than once.
Well, yeah, it's like in one ear, out the other. I'm trying to get the beer in there to be sticky. So segment 2, although we might have to compress some segments due to time tonight. What is Sharona XL? What's happening with you? Seems like you're going on this health kick. You're kicking butt, not spending as much time on social media, which automatically makes you healthy. What's going on?
Yeah, well, you've been giving me a hard time about my Twitter handle, and I had been trying to think of something clever, and I couldn't. And it's kind of, I have a gaming character that's the XL is part of it, and so I was like, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do the Sharona XL. It's extra large. X is like, an emperor kind of like title thing, and it's also a kind of a play on this whole quitting drinking thing, because I have dropped a ton of weight. So it's XL, but I'm really shrinking. in physical size. And so it's kind of all mixed into that, and, the whole gaming and everything. So we'll see if it sticks. I don't know. There were several versions of a Twitter handle that I went through, and I didn't want anything real long. I just didn't want anything super long, and so and it was kind of tied into Game of Thrones, like George the Third, Sharona XL.
First of her name, that kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of.
Now, one of the beers I thought about having tonight, a friend got me a Lagunitas. It was like a coffee-aged stout, and I was like, no, I got to save that for Sharona. But now that you're not drinking, I don't know. I was going to do it tonight, but coffee beers, not so much a coffee guy, but
I'll drink coffee with you.
I had a couple last night that were pretty solid, but
I don't know. When I started this process, I was like, so, maybe I'll drink on the weekends. I'm just going to cut back. I'm going to drink on maybe I'll let myself drink on the weekends or special occasions or whatever. And then kind of, growing through and going through this process, it's been, I don't want to get too deep. We're having fun. This is kind of a lighthearted show. I don't do my podcast right now. I don't know if I'm going to bring it back. We'll see. I know. We'll see. I've got to get through this whole not drinking thing. And so, it's weird because I don't know how much is too much. And I just know that if I did not quit drinking, it was going to kill me. And so I didn't think that was a good thing. And so that's why I quit. And now that, my body is going through it, and I see how, how devastating it was really on my health. I don't know if I'm going to. I don't know. I'm still in transition. Maybe I should have put Sharona in transition. But I don't know. I mean, how much is too much, and what is, because it's weird because, like, I really didn't even drink that much. And, at this point, or at that point when I made this decision, I was only drinking wine, and, occasionally I'll put some Baileys in my coffee or whatever. And beer, on not even a lot of that, just, beer on Wednesday night with my buddy Zach. And so I was like, but, there was a time in my life when I drank much heavier, a lot more heavy and heavy stuff, like bourbon and whiskey and stuff. And I guess, I just did too much damage during those years. And so I don't know that my body can take it. I really just don't know if my body can take it. But you know what is weird? I feel like, and Zach, you can feel free to tell me that I'm wrong, but I sort of feel like people, I want to make a big deal about it. And if people still want to drink, I think that's great. I don't think I would have quit if it wasn't going to kill me, But my liver was shutting down. My liver was shutting down, and I had to quit. Or
that's a good reason.
So, and but I feel like people who still drink, it's like they kind of take it a little personal. Like, I'm going to be like, you should quit drinking. I'm not going to tell anybody to quit drinking. You should do what feels good for you. I would not have quit if my body didn't say, hey, you may not care, but we're pretty fucked up here, and we're going to die if you don't stop.
Yeah, good reason, and we just stick with it,
So anyway,
can I drink to that? I probably should.
You can drink. Drink all you want, and it's not like I look at your beer and think, this is killing me. I want that. I mean, there are times when I would like to drink a glass of wine, or I would love to have a beer with you. Like, it was a big test to do Game of Thrones, because I would drink wine and watch the show and be all chill and stuff. And one thing that it taught me was how big of a part of my routine that it had become. And so that was weird, and that was hard, was just remaking all my routines that, you know, oh, this great thing happened. How are we going to celebrate? You know, drinking a glass of water doesn't have that same thing, but I'm kind of made do, and I'm drinking, I have found that like fruit juices, and I have green tea that's really good. It's 0-calorie green tea, and it's really good. And those things kind of help satisfy that little craving. So, yeah, it's been interesting.
Nice.
But no, I mean, I'm not going to be sitting here crusading against people drinking. I just know that for me, my body can't do it anymore.
It's all about the individual choice. So now that we've gone through a couple segments and we're like at 13 minutes to go, it's time for Over It or Not.
Okay.
We didn't do it last week because we were just having fun, and we did that impromptu beard draft, which was one of the greatest moments in show history.
That was fun. I need to cut that out and post it. Yeah. I'll cut that out and post it.
So we already talked about the fast SFB drafts. We'll skip that. This is one I had last week, and it's not even, well, it was barely news last week, but I thought it was important to talk about. So the Seattle Storm women's basketball team officially is standing with Planned Parenthood, and they're actually donating money to them.
Good.
So, over it or not?
Nah, it's fantastic. I think it's great. Women's health care is important. Planned Parenthood provides health care to a ton of women, and it's a shame that some real assholes want to shut it down.
Yeah, there's a real push. There's some times where you think, well, certain titles and things have this like bad taste to it, and Planned Parenthood has definitely gotten that. So it's like, should we just support other groups that do what they do, but nobody does what they do the way that they do, and they do lots of, it's like cancer screenings and birth control and all kinds of stuff, and everybody's got to go abortion, 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 like, you know, like literally there's nothing worse than that, where sorry, people make choices in life and it's necessary, and to say that it's an absolute is not true. And the fact that just a professional sports team is backing them is kind of cool. And the fact that Seattle Storm team was attached to the Supersonics, and they moved to Oklahoma City, and they're like, no, we're staying in Seattle. And, you know, you can say whatever you want about the WNBA, but it's cool that that happened. Over it or not, this will be a little bit different. National Hot Dog Day.
I guess that was a thing today, huh? I saw a lot of stuff about hot dogs.
There's a national.
I'm not a big fan of hot dogs, which are totally not a sandwich, but a hot dog. But I love brats, and I had brats today. And so, do your thing. You know, if you like hot dogs, go for it.
Yeah, brat, like boiled in like beer. That's where you're living.
Grilled.
So the next, you should grill then boil, or boil then grill. Anyway, whatever. So, you know, the biggest event of the year happened last week. Game of Thrones back on. A little bit of a slow play to start, but, you know, we're working our way. But today, the thing that Twitter was pissed off about was we heard about the project that the executive producer is doing after Game of Thrones, which I think is called The Confederates, and it's about an America where slavery was not abolished. Over it or not?
Over it. I was over it before I ever heard about it, and you mentioned it quite casually in our messaging, and I didn't know what you were talking about, and I assumed that I would find out on the show. But fortunately for me, I found out about it before the show started and was sufficiently nauseated so that it didn't carry over into this.
What was that? The Handmaid's Tale? It's on Hulu. That's a popular show that everybody thinks that might be a direction we're heading. Yeah, the whole, I don't know. I've seen, you know, since I like alternate history books, I've read some about, you know, the South winning the Civil War and what would happen as a result. I don't know. Yeah, it did not get a lot of. But the thing is, those guys I don't know what they could do that could possibly like catch up to Game of Thrones. Like, I'm kind of surprised, there's always talk about that show, The Leftovers, on HBO that I was kind of watching, and I still have like 6 episodes to go or something. That was one of the executive producers of Lost, and the way that ended is just like, oh, really? But Leftovers got a lot of love, so I don't know what these guys can do after this, because like this show has just catapulted them into the stratosphere.
Yeah.
No matter what they decide to do, it's going to be a downer after this.
Well, Sense8 was the Wachowskis, and they did The Matrix. They've had some boom or bust things, and you just never know. You just,
Creative people can catch up to you. And the last over it or not, millennials, nature's scapegoats.
I am really over the whole millennial craze. Completely and utterly over it. They're obnoxious little shits, just like we were obnoxious little shits when we were their age. And the generation behind them is going to come along, and they're going to be obnoxious little shits. And the group that are called millennials now are going to be rolling their eyes as hard as we are at them. So it's the cycle of life.
Yeah, it's a generational thing. But I thought it was great. If you ever read or the draw play, the comic, it's like the NFL thing. When the GM got fired, he made a joke that basically they spun the wheel. Okay, you got to find some random reason to, blame the guy. And millennials came up, and it's like millennials to blame for Panthers GM being fired. It was perfect. So the last kind of throwaway segment. We haven't done Pour One Out for a while, so Pour One Out to Washington fan dignity after trashing Kirk Cousins for turning down basically the contract offer that Kirk Cousins was offered was basically this year's franchise tag, which he's already getting guaranteed, and next year's transition tag, which is like $53 million total. He's going to get more than that next year. He's not going to be a Peyton Manning free agent, but like San Francisco is going to sign him to like a $150 million contract next year. But the way Washington handled it is like the way they treat their logo.
Why would anybody willingly want to play for the Washington Redskins?
Yeah, the owner is not so.
I don't get it.
Yeah, and they kind of lucked into Cousins because they took him, and it seemed like a luxury pick because they had RG3. RG3 clearly flamed out, and then they actually developed a guy in Cousins who really didn't play very much, which is good for a developing guy. And now he's a stud, and they got rid of a lot of his top guys, and I bet he'll have another great year. It's just, that franchise is never going to do anything in the NFC least, not with Carson Wentz taking him down twice a year. We will finish up with the morning drive time question that I posed to Sharona and kind of made the Twitter ripple today. What's one sporting event that you change the outcome of?
Oh, it was clearly the last Super Bowl. I mean, I would change the last Super Bowl. Atlanta would win. America would win. We'd still have Donald Trump as president, so
yeah,
there's a lose there. But I would let America win, and I would change the results of the Super Bowl.
I don't know. I was thinking a couple. I mean, I think it was Raymond Summerlin mentioned, like, one was Kevin Dyson breaks the tackle and gets the touchdown, and the Titans win in overtime. They'd have to get the kickoff to do it.
They'd have to, yeah.
Or if I wanted my college dream scenario, it would be Missouri wins the SEC championship the year they lost to Auburn and actually plays for a national title. Because I wouldn't necessarily care if Missouri won a national title, but the fact that they had a shot at it was crazy. But it's fun to think about. All these near misses, and if one thing changed, you wouldn't win. I think it was because I got invited. Missouri's playing at Georgia this year, and I got invited to the alumni bus trip to Athens, which is an hour from here. And I was thinking about that. I was thinking about when Missouri beat Georgia in Georgia to propel them to the SEC East title, and how they won all these crazy close games, and really one play a game could have turned it. And when a team's on a run like that, you just can't help but get behind them. And I don't know. We'll see if that happens again, if you get that kind of feeling, because I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm feeling that way. The Titans this year seem like they got it, but everybody's hyping them so much. I'm kind of wondering if something crazy happens to like take them down. Like the offensive line, something happens. Mariota doesn't quite do it. DeMarco Murray gets hurt. The defense sucks like it did last year. You know, you don't get so many of those magical rides. So that's just kind of something that happens.
Takes a lot of luck in the NFL to get where you need to go.
I mean, the Raiders are a really popular team, but I think someone posted today they went like 8-1 in 1-touchdown games, and that's really hard to sustain those close wins. So yeah, we'll see, because I think we're at the point. There's a local beer store. It said something like they're going to have a special when football comes back, and it said it was 40 days away, and I'm like, really? It's 40 days? That must be like really early college football. But anyway, yeah, we're almost there. Are we ready? Because we're going to be there for the Titans opener.
Yes, we are. And I've been meaning to ask you to let me know what games you're going to be at so I could take a look at my schedule, and maybe we can make more than one game this year.
Well, the opener is the one I have tickets for. I haven't yet officially made plans, and I probably should. If I want to go to Houston, I'm sure Sharona will pass on that one. But maybe another Titans game in Nashville, right?
Yeah, I don't know that I want to go to ask me again in a month. I enjoyed Houston. I love the Galleria. I bought the coolest pair of shoes there that I still own, but I need to wear. I just, Texans fans suck. Suck. They're awful. And I don't want to experience what they did to me ever again.
Well, some of the worst people who exist are definitely sports fans. And I was just thinking, like, I saw all these negative, people attacking Kirk Cousins because he didn't sign a bad contract. And that just happens. And then people get at a game and they get excited with their crappy beer and they get drunk and they're like, I gotta make up for everything that's bad in my life by feeling good about this sports team. And you'd almost think, just because of the level of excitement you have for your team, that you'd be like, this is so awesome, we're both excited about it. But that doesn't really happen usually. It ends up being this, we have to be enemies. Like, come on, we both like football. One of our teams is going to win, pretty good chance. Let's enjoy it,
It's crazy.
So you're saying that back talk is back burner?
I've been thinking a lot about it, and we sort of talked about this. Was it last week or week before? Maybe it was. I can't remember. To do a podcast, you have to have a fire. You have to have a little bit of. I hate to use this, but I'm going to. Righteous indignation somewhat. There's a fire there that you have to have, especially when you tackle the topics that that I tackled on my podcast. And I just don't know. I right now I'm leaning toward, if it does come back, it will come back in a different kind of format, because I just don't want to do that to myself. And there's a longer story there that I don't want to get into. And besides, we don't have time. Maybe we'll talk about it in another show. I don't want to this is the only show I do right now. This is kind of like my show. And we tackled a lot of really heavy stuff. This is a lighter, we have more fun, a little bit more fun here. We had fun on my podcast too. But, I don't want to bring everything here. But this will be where you'll find me mostly right now.
Well, I just know that your show was great, and I know you bring on really good guests, and that's good. But yeah, you really have to go. We have to talk about something that's you have a lot of fire about to get it out there. So I understand. I know what happens. It's cool. So yeah, we've reached it. We've done the hour. We said hi to Dawn before. I have to get that trophy for Dawn, and I suppose I need to set up the going to two drafts that we have going on. Definitely auction on a weekend. imagine Sharona's auction team could be really good if she doesn't drink and the rest of us do. There's something to think about. Talking about competitive advantage.
I might have to drink with y'all for that. We'll see. I mean, never say never. I just know
we'll see. That's cool.
It's been good for my body to do this, and we'll see what the future holds.
Well, great. So find Sharona, Sports by Sharona, and find me, Zach_Law. And thanks for watching again. And as we like to say, kiss my grits and